Hey everybody, it's Rykard here again, back with another black and white Pokemon analysis. Today, we're going to be discussing the brain Pokemon known as Oobemu. So let's get started by taking a look at its typing, abilities, and stats. So first off, Oobemu is a mono psychic type Pokemon, meaning that it has standard psychic type weaknesses and resistances. As for the abilities, the first one it gets is known as Telepathy, which is a really useful ability in doubles battles or triples battles now, but is not really that viable in singles. But what Telepathy does is it makes it so that you are able to dodge opponents' attacks, or sorry, your own teammates' attacks that hit everything on the field. So like a move like Explosion, which explodes and everybody takes damage, you actually dodge it because you're telepathic and read their minds, so you knew what they were going to do, and therefore you were able to plan ahead and dodge their attack. And this works with a lot of other moves like Surf and Earthquake and things like that that hit everything on the field. Up next we have the ability Synchronize, which is a really cool ability that I like a lot because it allows you to pass statuses like Poison, Paralysis, and Burn back onto your opponent if they've tried to induce them on you. So this is especially useful in stall wars and things like that, because if your opponent's trying to toxic stall you or something, they will be toxic right back because of Synchronize, and therefore will be equally vulnerable in such a stall war. Obviously, though, typing still applies, so a Steel type Pokemon cannot get poisoned because of Synchronize, and a Fire type Pokemon cannot get burned because of Synchronize. So that's just something to be aware of. And lastly, its Dreamworld ability is known as Analyze, which actually at the moment isn't entirely tested. So they're not exactly sure of or how big the boost it gives is, but basically it's an ability that makes it so that when you go second in battle, you actually deal more damage. So think of it as like Payback, where you have 50% or 50 power, but when you go second, it has 100 power, but as a ability that applies to all the moves you use. So they're not exactly sure yet what the boost is from Analyze, but it's still really cool to think about, especially because of the fact that this Pokemon is really freaking slow, so that will make it a great user of Analyze. But onto those stats, which I kind of just mentioned before, or with the speed, it actually has 40 speed, so that is actually really low, and will definitely allow this Pokemon to make great use of Analyze, but unfortunately will not allow it to really be a sweeper unless it's in some sort of Trick Room, which you will actually see in the first set. But for its defenses, which I normally list first, it has 75 HP with 75 physical defense and 75 special defense. So it actually has some pretty good defenses when you think about it, especially with the special defense area. So this Pokemon can definitely be EV'd to take hits from either the special or physical side, or even both if you want to try that out. But for its attacking stats, it has 75 physical attack and 125 special attack. Now, even though its physical attack isn't nearly as good as its special attack, it actually learns some interesting physical attacking moves, such as Zen Headbutt and Rock Slide for some reason. And it also learns Headbutt as well, I guess, because it has a giant head. So it could kind of be a useful thing if you want to maybe go with like a para-flinching set and use its physical attack. But really the stat we're going to be talking about is its special attack, which is at a very high 125, meaning that this Pokemon can definitely deal out a lot of damage from the special side. It also has access to Nasty Plot, which you will also see in the first set. And with that, we will take a look at that one right now. So first off, this set will be using a quiet nature, which means you will have increased special attack but decreased speed. And the reasoning for this is because we're going to be trying to run a Trick Room set with this guy. As for its ability, it's going to be Synchronize, just so you have the chance to obviously pass status onto your opponent if it tries to inflict any with you. As for the EVs, we're going to max out HP with 252 EVs into that stat, 4 EVs into defense to give you one more point into that, and then max out your special attack with 252 EVs into that stat. And the item for the set is going to be a Life Orb to allow you to do as much damage as possible with your attacking moves. But for those moves, the first one that we're going to talk about is either going to be Trick Room or Nasty Plot. Trick Room is great if you want to be the Pokemon that is setting up the Trick Room, but if there are other Pokemon on your team that can set it up, I would definitely go with Nasty Plot, just so you have really good speed in the Trick Room and insanely high special attack power after one Nasty Plot. So you could do a ton of damage with that, and it's really viable in any sort of battle because of that fact. But even if you don't have the chance to use Nasty Plot and you're the Trick Room's user instead, you still have really high special attack, which I believe almost reaches 400. But with that high special attack, we're going to be making use of either Psycho Shock or Psychic as your main stab Psychic type move. Psycho Shock is there because it's a special move that hits physically, so it'll allow you to do damage to things that have high special defense below physical defense, like a Blissey or something. But Psychic, on the other hand, will keep you with a very powerful stab move of the special variety. Next, we have Thunderbolt, which is a great electric type move to use, and it really confuses me as to why almost every single electric Pokemon can learn Thunderbolt. I'm sorry, Psychic type Pokemon can learn Thunderbolt. And I've always been perplexed as to why that is, but maybe someone else can explain that for me. But it's just a great move to use with Psychic or Psycho Shock. And then lastly, we're going to be making use of some kind of hidden power, either fighting or fire. Both have their uses. I think I would go with fighting in this sense, just because you get more type coverage than you would with fire, I think. But either one works for you. This Pokemon also has access to Energy Ball and Shadow Ball, so both of those could be options to substitute for any of the moves on the set. These were just the ones that I picked as probably being the most useful in a battle. But that is it for this first set. Up next, we have what I probably think is the most useful / most powerful set for this guy. So first we're going to give it a relaxed nature to increase your physical defense but lower your speed. And then the ability this time we're going to be using is Analyze, so that with the lowered speed we get from this nature, we're able to always go second and therefore deal out more damage because of the boost that Analyze gives. As for the EVs though, we're going to be maxing out HP again with 252 EVs into that stat, and then we're also maxing out physical defense with 252 EVs into that stat. And then the remainder of the EVs, which is 4, is going into special attack just to give you one more point into that stat. As for the item, this time we're going to be going with leftovers to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. As for the moves though, this time our stat boosting move is going to be Calm Mind to increase both our special attack and our special defense. So because we have max physical defense, it's going to be very beneficial to have a boosting move to your special defense, which will then allow you to take hits equally well from both the physical and special side, which is great. And you can't obviously forget the naturally high special attack that you have that will also be boosted by Calm Minds. As for the next move though, it's either going to be Substitute or Recover. And it's really depending on the situation that you think you'll end up being in with this Pokemon. If you're fearing status like Toxic or something like that, I would definitely go with Substitute, just because of the fact that this Pokemon can do a lot of damage if you can get a lot of Calm Minds up. And obviously avoiding status is very crucial when you're trying to set up in some way so that you aren't hindered by constant damage or things like that. But other than that, as I said, you can use Recover as a way to easily restore 50% of your HP every time you use it. And that's obviously probably going to be the better choice in the long run, because Substitute is kind of situational. But because of the fact that you will have boosted defense with Calm Mind and you have high physical defense because of the EVs, Substitute could still be an option. So really, I'm kind of torn between the two. So hopefully you guys can pick whichever one you want. As for the next move though, it's going to be either Psycho Shock to deal physical damage that will also get Stab, or Shadow Ball to do Ghost type damage that will work in conjunction with your Hidden Power Fighting as your other move to give you unresisted type coverage. But in my opinion, going with Psycho Shock is the better option, just so you can hit from both the special side with HP Fighting and the physical side with Psycho Shock. But really, it's up to you again. That's why there are so many options with these new sets. But I wish I could have come up with something more conclusive, but there are just a lot of different ways to use this Pokemon. As for this last set, It's going to be kind of a unique toxic-y stalling set. But again, we're going to be going with a relaxed nature to increase your physical defense but lower your speed, which will again be working in conjunction with your ability Analyze. As to the EVs though, this time we're going to put 252 into HP to max out HP, 128 into physical defense, and 128 into special defense to give you some nice, well-rounded bulk that you'll be able to use in order to take a bunch of hits from your opponents. And the item again is going to be leftovers to recover HP. As for the moves though, since we are going to be sort of a toxic-y stalling thing, Toxic is the obvious move, and that is also the reason why we're not running Synchronize on the set, because if we did, your opponent might end up inflicted with a status other than Toxic, which would be bad. Again, we're going to be choosing between Psycho Shock and Psychic as your stab move, but with the set, we're going to be making use of Disable, which is a cool egg move that Oobemu learns. Wow. And it's great in a set like this because you can essentially disable whatever move your opponent's trying to do to hurt you the most. So even if it's going to be like a super effective attack, if you can take it once and then disable it, you can recover up next turn and pretty much be safe and allow them to slowly take more and more poison damage. And obviously this works great to cause switches and things like that because Disable obviously will disable their moves, and that could also give you more or give your opponents more stealth rocks or spikes damage, whatever entry hazards you have on the field. So that's also a really useful aspect of the set. But it's a pretty unique toxic stalling set that this guy can make use of because of Disable as an egg move and Recover and Toxic, obviously. And then obviously you can also wear it down further with your stab move. But that is it for Oobemu. This thing is actually really cool looking and I like its design a lot, even though it is kind of creepy. It kind of looks like a weird Regigigas because of the colors of the little buttons that it has. But that's just my opinion. But that is it for Oobemu, so take care guys, and goodbye.